I want to talk to you about a listener story. And by the way, I'm Dr. Mary Travelbest, coming to you from a recent trip, a 90-day solo journey around the world. So here's Alina, a woman I met in Toronto who hosted me for my final 4 nights. She's trying to travel to Seattle this week, and she had been affected by Air Canada's strike. She's a great traveler who's visited Japan, Spain, and many European countries, and she was an excellent Servas host. Look up Servas if you want to encourage world peace with cultural exchange. And thank you, Alina, for hosting me and being my friend for those days when I needed one in Toronto. And now for a quick fire FAQ. Today, I'm going to ask the question I'm hearing from all of you. What was my favorite place during my 90-day journey? And I don't want to leave anybody out, so I usually say this. Right here is my favorite place. Right now, I'm home. So that's my favorite place. Really, I always think about the next trip I'm going to be taking, though. And so my next trip is for work to Las Vegas, which is not one of my favorite places. I can stay there for up to 2 nights, and then I need to get out. However, after Las Vegas, I'll be going later on to Chicago, so that's going to be one of my favorite places for this fall. And now let's transition into a Travelbest Confidence Challenge. I want you to take a step outside, and then I want you to close your eyes and stop where you are. Now, if you're driving, obviously you can't do this, but later on, listen to the sounds you hear. Did you catch every sound? So make a list in your mind and continue walking and focus on what you hear. The sounds of nature or the city are there, but maybe you haven't been listening. So go ahead and do this once a week. That's your challenge. If you like today's confidence challenge, Chapter 1 of my 5 Steps series, Book A, dives deeper, and there's a link in the description. You can also find it on the website, 5stepstosolotravel.com. And now, the Destination Deep Dive today is a special summary of my 90-day around the world trip, and this is part 1. I began my trip in South America on May 13th, 2025. I charted a course to go around the world from north to south. I flew to Chicago to begin my trip, and then Bogota, Colombia, then Cartagena, and finally in Colombia, Medellin. I spent a total of 4 weeks in South America, traveling through 4 countries, 1 each week. And some of the highlights of South America would include fantastic artwork in downtown Medellin and riding on their very sophisticated tram system. In Cartagena, I had the opportunity to explore the old town and city walls, as well as spend a day on Isla Blanca, a resortish island. My second week was spent in Ecuador, where I spent several days on the island of Isabela in the Galapagos. I saw many natural wonders here on this small island, and I explored the tunnels and had the opportunity to swim with sea turtles during this trip. I also saw many lizards and other unusual creatures. After arriving later in Peru, I landed in Lima and then traveled to Cusco by plane, where I spent a few days acclimating to the high altitude. I spent one 19-hour day in Machu Picchu, leaving at 3 a.m. and arriving back home to my hostel at about 11 at night. That was quite an adventure. It was a beautiful day at that. I felt like I really got to know the city of Lima after visiting it for the second time, and at the end of May, when I spent a week in Brazil, my first stop was Rio de Janeiro and visited Christ the Redeemer statue. I then spent several days exploring the city of Rio before heading to its sister city across the bay in Niterói, where I enjoyed the locals and the beaches. I flew to Sao Paulo a few days later and explored this vast metropolis, one of the largest cities I've ever seen. From there, I flew to South Africa via Angola, and then I arrived in Cape Town, So I rented a car and drove on the left side of the road for the first time. I explored the garden route for several days before returning to Cape Town, situated at the southernmost tip of Africa. After Cape Town, I flew to Johannesburg on a different airline and was fortunate to visit the Apartheid Museum and the homes of 2 Nobel Peace Prize winners, all in the same neighborhood. This was my second trip to Africa, so I was glad to see a different part of it this time. I'll finish up my summary in the next episode, so stay tuned. And if you have questions, please ask. You'll hear more about these trips in future episodes. Now for my smart move and slip up. I'm going to do the two as a pair. One of my slip ups was losing my phone. I lost it while I was entering the CN Tower in Toronto. It was one of the city's most popular tourist attractions. Here's what happened. I was going through the X-ray machine and they asked me to take off my vest. They also asked me to remove items from the pockets in my vest. But then they removed my phone from my pocket and they dropped it in their basket. And so when I was collecting my vest, I forgot to put the phone back in my pocket. And I proceeded to enter the exhibit. I was in there for about 5 minutes. When I went to take a photo of an item I saw on the tour, I couldn't find my phone. But I knew where it was. So I turned around and retraced my steps, made sure that they were going to give me a re-entry, and then I went into their highly secure staffing room and retrieved my phone immediately. So don't slip up like I did. Don't leave your phone behind when you're going through security. Even when you seem to be a little nervous when you're going through, take a minute and make sure you have all of your things. The smart move is to take a breath whenever you're going through any security situation. And now, my 60-second confidence challenge. Here's a challenge for you. Can you pack all of your toiletries in one small cube? That will help build your confidence in many ways. Don't forget to zip up any items that could leak, especially if you have bug or mosquito protection, such as DEET, which should be double bagged. And now, the resources roundup. One of the good places to find resources is with your government agencies, such as the U.S. Consulate. Don't hesitate to check those out before you take a big trip. Links are in the text for you. And now here's your takeaway. And goodbye. My takeaway for today is that traveling in one direction means you don't have to double back and return to the same destination. Making a loop is more efficient as you travel. So if you draw a circle and see where you can go on that journey, you might want to like that better instead of just coming back and returning there. So thanks for listening.